equivalent of the Oscars in the radio and podcast world, and everything audio, to be honest, called the ARIAs, took place this week in London, and Devon's done really well. Have a listen to this. This is a clip from the audiobook Rave New World, which won a silver.
As it turned 11 p.m, I was standing in a dusty field on the outskirts of Longwick with a torch and a whistle. It looked and felt like a scene from Close Encounters, surrounded by beams of light in all directions. Behind me, laser fingers waved through the sky, briefly exposing the silver pylons that crossed the site. To my left, a big wheel whirred, scattering excited screams into the warm night air. To my right, a bright halogen light illuminated the car parking area. In front of me, a convoy of headlights snaked from my torch beam all the way to the horizon. The sheer number of cars arriving was staggering. The police, still smarting from being beaten in court, refused to help, as did the local authorities, and despite us parking them as quickly as possible, the line of cars tailed back some 4 miles to the A40. Some ravers just abandoned them and headed across the fields, following the lasers and booming kick drum.
Love that. Love it. It's just a little snippet from the audiobook Rave New World, about rave culture, late 80s, early 90s, which won silver at the ARIAs earlier this week. A terrific achievement from thousands of entries. Kirk Field from Newton Abbot, you might have heard him on the show talking about his nomination. He's only gone and got a silver and is with us again this morning. Morning, Kirk.
Good morning, John. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. I'm as surprised as anyone is.
What I love is that you beat Alan Partridge into third.
Yeah, back of the net.
Back of the net. Done.
Absolutely. And also Stephen Fry as well. Stephen Fry didn't make the medals.
I bet you were pinching yourself, weren't you? How was it?
It was a really interesting night. I've never been to an award ceremony, and I found myself as a nominee. So I'd never even been in the audience before. And it was all the West End trappings. It was a big West End theatre on Drury Lane, red carpet, paparazzi outside, press there with trying to grab the stars as they came in, free champagne. And so it was it's the real deal, really. And it was also strangely moving because there was two very poignant tributes. One to Annie Nightingale, who's passed recently, and also one to
Steve Wright.
King of Radio. And so that was done really well. It was delivered really well. And for Steve Wright, Marty Pellow appeared and did a live rendition of Wichita Lineman, which is one of Steve's favourite songs. And so, yeah, it wasn't just like shallow showbiz nonsense. It was quite moving, quite emotional as well.
Was it difficult for you to get your head around the fact that you wrote this book and you didn't know who would want to read it or how it would go and how the audiobook would be received, and then suddenly you're there and, obviously the judges loved it?
Yeah, I think the thing that surprised me is I thought I was writing about something that was quite niche, and I thought that maybe a few DJ friends might like it, or as I say, my sons, might find it a USB in a sock drawer one day when I'm gone to the great after party in the sky, and sort of see what their dad did. And it's just gone on and on and on, because I was wrong in thinking it was a niche thing. It's actually quite mainstream, because the book, as one of the judges said, the book's more about the 90s. It starts in 89 and it ends in 99. And so it's lots of stories and adventures throughout the 90s. And I think a lot of people want to look back at that era. It's a simpler era. And even though we felt like we were being naughty at the time, I think in retrospect, after what's gone on since 9/11, it was a more innocent era. And I think I believe my book takes people back to that era. I get quite a lot of messages from listeners and from readers telling me that that's the case, and which is it's a lovely thing. Yeah, it's really humbling to find that my book triggers listening to something from that era or reading something from that era, triggers some memories and takes them back there. So I think maybe that's why it appealed to them. But yeah, it's incredible. I'm just riding it really. And at my age, I'm 62 in a few weeks' time. I'm just saying yes to everything and just enjoying the ride.
Has it opened up any other doors? Have you had any interesting conversations with people as a result of the book?
Yeah, I have actually. I'm going to be. I've just announced Edinburgh Festival. I'm doing a 13-night run at the Fringe.
Wow.
I do a spoken word thing, and so that was announced, I think, yesterday. And also, I had a meeting with Phil McIntyre, who's a major, one of the biggest comedy and theatre promoters. Well, they've asked me. They're putting together a UK theatre tour in October and November, and so this thing's really sort of taking off at the moment.
Exciting, isn't it? It's good.
Yeah, it's good, but it's also, I think it's, for anybody out there that's listening to this, I mean, I didn't write this. I didn't write the book to make money. I didn't make the book to become successful or to become well known or to do interviews at 7:00 in the morning on, with you. I wrote it because I wanted to remember what I'd done with my life and the good times that I'd had. And I wrote it in bad times. I wrote it in lockdown when we weren't allowed to associate with each other, let alone get together 10,000 people in an aircraft hangar and dance all night. We weren't even allowed to meet at the pub or in a shop. And so it seemed to me, at the back of my mind, I thought everything that we took for granted back then, we should really celebrate and acknowledge the freedoms that we've got and the freedoms that is important to keep hold of. And I think the rave scene, fought for those freedoms, fought for the right to associate freely and to dance to music, past the hour of 3:00 in the morning. And from there, the book starts off with quite an intense description of those orbital rays. But from there, it just goes into my adventures in Russia or in Croatia or in Tunisia, where I bump into world leaders and a motley crew of characters. In fact, someone described it as Bill Bryson with bass, which is a brilliant description, which I'm quite happy to stick on the front cover.
Bill Bryson with bass. What a brilliant line. It's well worth putting on the cover of anything, isn't it?
But I think it's really important, John, to say that one of the things that came out when I was up at the awards on Tuesday, I was looking around the room, and we keep on being told we live in this is a visual age. We live in a visual age. Instagram, it's all about the image. TikTok, but you know what? Audio is still king. The popularity and power of the spoken word is never more evident than when I was in that room, in that theatre with 2,000 other people, and they're talking about podcasts, they're talking about radio, they're talking about everything, just basically the oldest form of communication, which is storytelling. We all tell stories. You've just been telling a story about the barbecue or going to the beach or getting dressed up or going on a cruise ship. We're the tellers of stories, and people will always want stories because it's the oldest art form. So in many ways, it kind of reinforced my my belief in what I was doing was the right thing, to tell stories.
There's something just lovely and intimate about it as well, and you don't have to be looking at something. You can be getting on with whatever you're getting on with during the day, and it's a voice that's there with you and a storyteller who's there with you, or a song or whatever it is. I completely agree with you, and it's just so intimate as well. Radio and audio books and podcasts, just so intimate. It's lovely that you felt that when you were there.
And it's for an author, from an author's point of view, for me, it's the purest art form for getting your message across, for telling your story, because there's none of those obstacles that come in the way of a writer. So I don't have to struggle with punctuation or grammar or a little bit of dyslexia or dyslexia on the reader's side, or somebody reading something wrong, or somebody with sight problems that's forgotten their reading glasses. And it's just purely hot wires the story, the narrative, straight into not the ears, but the imagination of the listener. And I think that's what excites me about the medium of audiobooks and also radio. It's the same deal.
There's so many fascinating stories in your book, and you lived such a cool life for such a long time, and you still are. 13 nights at the Edinburgh Fringe. I just hope you lap that up and enjoy every moment of it. You'll feel those good butterflies and those good nerves, and hopefully it goes well for you, Kirk, there.
Well, that's good. Thank you very much, John. I'll keep in touch with you, and we should get together and have a chat more often. It's I really like what you do down there, and I think you do a great thing. And one thing about the ARIAs is it really showed me all the good community-led stuff that regional radio do. It's not just about the weather or the news. There's a connection there to the community, and it showed me that that's really, I was unaware of it, to be honest with you. But the regional radio is really important to people. It's not just about there being national stations. I was chatting to Jeremy Vine afterwards, and he was saying that it reinforced it made him feel better that about what he does in radio as a medium, because all the little radio stations around the country who are doing great things in connecting with the community, they get a recognition on these kind of nights. So maybe I'll see you there one year. It'd be great.
I only won a bronze, so you've gone above. You've gone one better than me, Stephen Fry, and Alan Partridge now. So well done with your silver.
Brilliant! Well, congratulations on your bronze. Did you actually get the bronze trophy, the kind of cassette thing?
No, I didn't get any sort of physical thing. There were 8 of us who interviewed the Prime Minister at the time, Liz Truss, in local radio. And we came 3rd in the radio moment of the year, which I know was won by John Robbins at the ARIAs, wasn't it, for his brilliant I've Got a Problem with Alcohol story on 5 Live, which was fantastic. So we came 3rd in that, and I'm very proud of all of us in local radio, and just shows how important we are and what we do. So thank you for saying that, and you've beautifully segued the community side of local radio and some of those small stations, because we've got a Devon winner from the ARIAs in the community section later on in the show. So that's perfect.
Oh, brilliant. That's fantastic. That's great.
I'll see you next week, because I think we've booked you for celebrity birthdays. You fancy that?
Yeah, I look forward to that. That'd be good.
Good stuff. Kirk, again, well done.
Thank you, John.
Take care.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye now.